AITA for letting you know I am divorcing you by sending you a thread on the website that you used to ignore me. Hi Steffan. Maybe you will finally listen. And if you're wondering if you can just speed home and stop me from doing this and leaving, it's too late. I'm sending you this after I've already loaded everything in the car and left. Don't worry, I spoke with our landlords and took my name off the lease. I've set up a direct deposit for the next month's rent. After that, you're on your own, buddy. I guess you're wondering why. I'm guessing you'll act like you're completely blindsided, right? Because you've done absolutely nothing wrong, and you're a great husband and father-to-be, aren't you? Well, buddy, let me break it down for you in a language you understand. I, 29F, have been married to my husband, 35M, for 5 years, and we've been together for nearly 10. On paper, everything seemed fine, but in reality, our marriage has been anything but. I've reached my breaking point, and I need to know if I'm the one in the wrong here. From the beginning, my mill has been a nightmare. She made everything about her from day one. At our wedding, she wore white, claiming it was a family tradition. It wasn't. She constantly criticizes me, from my cooking to my appearance. I'll never forget the time she called me fat at a family gathering, right in front of everyone. And what did my husband do? Nothing. Not a single word to defend me. It didn't stop there. She has, accidentally, destroyed my belongings, including my grandmother's necklace, which she threw out because it looked like cheap costume jewelry. She's gone out of her way to make me feel small and unwelcome in my own home. But every time I tried to talk to my husband about it, he'd brush it off, saying I was overreacting or being too emotional. And then there's my husband. He's always on Reddit, constantly giving strangers relationship advice, which is laughable considering how he treats me. He spends more time rating women on Reddit than talking to me. Literally. And just so you know, the last pair he rated weren't a 4 out of 10. They were a 10 out of 10. Yeah, he's got plenty of time to do that but can't be bothered to remember anything about my life. He'll forget my birthday, our anniversary, even simple things like what I'm working on or what's important to me. But he has a perfect memory for his work schedule and things that matter to him. When we fight, he becomes incredibly hostile and always throws in a sarcastic, buddy, at the end of his sentences, like I'm some acquaintance he can barely tolerate. And he never cleans. The house, the dishes, laundry, you name it, it's all on me. It's like he thinks being an adult is optional, as long as he's got his job and his Reddit account. The final straw came a few weeks ago. I'm 5 months pregnant with our first child, a daughter. My mill started making comments about how she'll have to whip the girl into shape, and how she'll raise her to be tough, because I'm too soft. When I told my husband that I didn't want his mother to have too much influence on our daughter, especially with the way she treats me, he just laughed it off, saying his mother means well, and that I was overthinking it. But the moment that truly broke me was when we were talking about future childcare, and my husband suggested that his mother should watch our daughter while we work. I told him I wasn't comfortable with that, especially considering how his mother treats me, and he snapped. He called me paranoid, and said I should get over it, because his mother was going to be a big part of our daughter's life whether I liked it or not. This is the same woman who believes corporal punishment is okay. I've seen her hit my husband's nephew for the smallest things, and no one does anything about it. It's like they're all living in some kind of cult, and I'm finally waking up to the reality of what's going on. If he wouldn't stand up for me, how could I expect him to stand up for our child? I started to fear for what kind of environment our daughter would grow up in. A place where she might be belittled or bullied by her own grandmother, with a father who wouldn't do anything to stop it. Oh, and did I mention that he missed our first ultrasound? His mother needed him to help her with something urgent. It turned out to be fixing her Wi-Fi. He chose that over seeing our daughter for the first time. That told me everything I needed to know about where I stand in his life, so I packed up and left. I'm done living like this. Oh, and in case you're wondering, I've already contacted a lawyer. You can't scare me into complying anymore because I have all those texts. You know exactly which ones I'm talking about. So, Steffan, I wish you all the best in your future marriage. With your mother and the women of Reddit don't even deserve. Am I the asshole for leaving my husband after he neglected me for years, let his mother mistreat me, and made me fear for our future daughter's safety? Tiny update. Steffan has seen this post. He is mad that apparently one of you found him based on the thing. He has deleted his account. For any purposes, I want to clarify that I left out any actual incriminating information that could lead to doxing him. Any and all people who are pretending to know me or have any incriminating information about me are lying. I am not from South Carolina, I am not moving in with any other guy, and I am also not sleeping around.
It sounds like the person telling the story is in an incredibly frustrating and painful situation. From the details provided, they have been neglected emotionally by their husband, subjected to ongoing mistreatment from their mother-in-law, and had their boundaries and concerns dismissed, even regarding the safety and upbringing of their future child. The fact that the husband consistently prioritized his mother and online activity over the emotional and practical needs of his wife, particularly during pregnancy, is troubling. The Mills' actions, like throwing out the grandmother's necklace and making inappropriate comments, along with the husband's dismissiveness, contribute to an environment of emotional neglect. Leaving under these circumstances seems like a reasonable decision, especially considering the long-standing issues, lack of support, and concerns about their child's future environment. If the person in the story felt that they could no longer trust their husband to prioritize their family or protect their child from harmful influences, then stepping away to create a healthier environment makes sense. As for sending the message through a platform he used to ignore her, it's unconventional, but it reflects how far the breakdown in communication had gone. It shows her frustration at not being heard and having to use a medium he was invested in to get her point across. In summary, I don't think she's the asshole here. Instead, it seems like she's someone who tried to make things work but was repeatedly ignored and disrespected. She made a tough but necessary choice to prioritize her well-being and her future child's safety. From what's described, this guy clearly needs to face the consequences of his actions, or lack of action, in this relationship. It seems like he's been neglectful, dismissive, and unable to establish healthy boundaries with his mother, which has led to a lot of emotional harm for his wife. He should take this as a wake-up call and seriously reflect on his behavior. At the very least, he needs to recognize his mistakes, seek help to understand why he behaved this way, perhaps through therapy, and work on becoming a more emotionally available and supportive person, especially if he intends to co-parent with his ex-wife. He also needs to address his unhealthy attachment to online spaces and inappropriate activities like the Reddit behavior mentioned, which seems to be contributing to his emotional disconnection. In terms of what should happen. 1. Accountability. He should take responsibility for his neglect and disrespect in the relationship, acknowledging how his actions, and inaction, harmed his wife. 2. Self-improvement. Therapy could help him address his immaturity, poor boundaries, and inability to prioritize important relationships. 3. Co-parenting. If he's going to be in his daughter's life, he must become a better father, meaning he'll need to set boundaries with his mother and focus on what's best for his child. 4. Consequences. If he continues to prioritize toxic relationships or behaviors, it might mean reduced involvement in his daughter's life or other legal consequences if custody is challenged. Ultimately, his future will depend on whether he's willing to grow and make amends, but the damage he's done might be irreparable when it comes to his marriage. The writer seems to have made a strong and courageous decision to leave a toxic environment, prioritizing her own well-being and that of her future child. Going forward, here's what she should focus on. 1. Stay firm in her decision. It seems like she's made the right choice by leaving a neglectful partner who allowed mistreatment by his mother and didn't prioritize her or their future child. She should not second-guess herself, especially after enduring years of emotional neglect. 2. Continue legal action. The writer mentioned contacting a lawyer, which is crucial. She should proceed with legal action to secure her future, whether it's filing for divorce or arranging custody and child support for their daughter. Protecting her legal rights is key to ensuring she has the support she needs for herself and her child. 3. Set clear boundaries with her ex and his family. If she co-parents with him in the future, it's essential to set strict boundaries regarding his involvement, as well as limiting or controlling any interactions with his mother. His mother's toxic behavior should not influence or harm their child, so boundaries will help protect her and the child from further manipulation or harm. 4. Focus on self-care and emotional healing. Leaving a toxic relationship, especially one where emotional abuse and neglect were present, takes a toll. She should take time to heal emotionally, whether that's through therapy, leaning on friends and family, or finding new ways to prioritize her own happiness. Building a strong support system is crucial. 5. Prepare for co-parenting challenges. If her ex tries to be involved, co-parenting might be difficult, especially given his history of prioritizing his mother and dismissing her concerns. She should be prepared to advocate for herself and her child, ensuring that any co-parenting arrangements prioritize the child's well-being. 6. Consider future safety for her child. If she feels that her ex or his mother would be harmful influences on their daughter, she should be prepared to limit their involvement through legal channels. If she believes his mother's potential use of corporal punishment or other toxic behavior could endanger their child, this should be part of any legal discussions. Ultimately, the writer has made a strong first move, and she should continue to prioritize her own well-being and that of her daughter while maintaining her independence. The husband's actions could stem from a variety of psychological and emotional factors, and while it's hard to diagnose based on the information provided, several possibilities stand out. 1. Emotional immaturity or avoidance. It sounds like he may struggle with emotional maturity, leading him to avoid real emotional connection with his wife. By spending time on Reddit or engaging in trivial activities like rating women's photos, he could be escaping from the real responsibilities and emotional challenges of marriage. His dismissive and sarcastic attitude toward his wife's concerns shows a lack of empathy and understanding, which is often a sign of emotional immaturity. 2. Unhealthy relationship with his mother, enmeshment. The close and controlling relationship with his mother might indicate enmeshment, where the boundaries between parent and child are blurred. This can lead to a dynamic where the adult child, him, feels compelled to prioritize his mother's needs over his spouse's, often to the detriment of their romantic relationship. His failure to set boundaries with his mother and his inability to defend his wife suggests that he's still emotionally dependent on or controlled by his mother. This could be because of unresolved childhood issues or a sense of obligation that's overriding his duties as a husband. 3. Neglecting the marriage due to complacency. He may have fallen into complacency, believing that the relationship didn't need effort or that his wife would always be there regardless of how he treated her. This happens in relationships where one partner feels too comfortable or takes the other for granted, not recognizing that a marriage requires ongoing communication and support. This complacency can be paired with a lack of self-awareness, where he doesn't realize, or refuses to admit, how hurtful his behavior is. 4. Lack of empathy. The consistent neglect, failure to defend his wife, and dismissive attitude could suggest a lack of empathy, meaning he might be unable to fully understand or care about how his actions are affecting her. This could stem from a personality disorder like narcissistic traits, though it's difficult to say for sure. People with low empathy often prioritize their own needs and view others' emotions as secondary or irrelevant. 5. Escapism and online validation. His reliance on Reddit, particularly the time spent rating women's photos, might suggest that he's seeking validation or escaping into a world where he feels in control. Online communities can sometimes provide a sense of instant gratification and validation that he may not be getting from real-world relationships. If he feels inadequate or unfulfilled in his marriage, he might turn to online activities to distract himself from those feelings, which, over time, leads to further disconnection from his wife. 6. Fear of conflict. His avoidance of defending his wife or confronting his mother might indicate a fear of conflict. Rather than setting boundaries or addressing issues head-on, he may have developed a habit of ignoring problems in hopes they'll go away. This passive approach could be a way to keep the peace, but it leads to deeper issues because it invalidates his wife's feelings and allows toxic dynamics, like with his mother, to persist. 7. Insecure attachment style. If he has an insecure attachment style, particularly an avoidant attachment, he may struggle with intimacy and emotional closeness. People with avoidant attachment tend to distance themselves emotionally in relationships, preferring to keep things superficial or disengaged. His focus on online interactions and his mother, along with neglecting his wife's needs, could be a defense mechanism to avoid deeper emotional intimacy or vulnerability. Overall, his actions seem to reflect a combination of emotional immaturity, conflict avoidance, and a dysfunctional relationship with his mother. These factors contribute to a neglectful and dismissive attitude toward his wife, preventing him from engaging fully in the marriage and addressing the problems at hand.
Steffan, buddy, please reply and tell us how much a good boy you are. Mommy will be so proud. My mom was right about you. She told me you weren't worthy of me, and you'd pull something like this.
Yeah.
Imagine bro sitting down and reading this at first like, wow, haha, imagine if this was actually for me? Wait. Oh, that might be me because. OMG, the necklace thing? The ultrasound. Mom.
Yeah.
Steffan, you suck.
That was a great way to end it.